Morning everybody, Silverbolt here, back for a Transformers review, going to be doing, as per the title page, Chin Boy! Or, to give him of course his proper title, Sentinel Prime. Now, Sentinel Prime is an elite guard, and in Series 1 and 2 of Transformers, he pretty much forms almost the holy trinity of the elite guard, which of course is Ultra Magnus, who's cool, Jazz, who is so cool he makes liquid nitrogen look warm, and Sentinel. Well, is Sentinel Prime cool? No. Is Sentinel Prime an idiot? Yes. Is Sentinel Prime an arsehole? Yes. Is Sentinel Prime a prat? Yes. Is Sentinel Prime a joke? Yes. Sentinel Prime is not a nice character. And he's very much the archetypical joke character. He's not the comic relief, he's the joke. He's arrogant, and he's egotistical, and he's elitist, and they're his nice points. Who always makes a mess of things. And that is why the Sentinel is referred to as the joke. You know, he is the joke character. I mean, you know, you've got other characters like Bumblebee and Bulkhead who are the comic relief. Sentinel Prime is the butt. So, Sentinel Prime and Optimus Prime have a long-standing rivalry / enmity / hatred for each other. When they were back on Cybertron, they were teamed up with Elita 1, who, of course, Sentinel, up until Series 3, believes is dead. But I'll get to that in a bit. And they have a long-standing rivalry, and it becomes clear in the episode with them that you find out that the Prime affix on the end of their names is a title, which is why Sentinel Prime has it and Optimus Prime has it. So they're technically of equal rank. Though, seeing as Optimus Prime was at one point left the Autobot Academy, why he kept the title Prime, maybe it's a for-life title to say that you've met it. There we go, I'm not too sure. It's probably been explained in the cartoon, but I can't think of it for the moment. Sentinel Prime, of course, has a fair length of time to get over the whole Elita 1 fiasco before he comes to Earth. And, you know, it doesn't improve his personality much. I mean, one of the things that happens when he first comes to Earth is that he decides that he's going to make Ultra Magnus and himself and Jazz, you know, blend in with local Earth culture by making a giant truck and a snowplow in the middle of summer. Jazz just gets a cool Porsche kind of job car, which is, you know, always good. Sentinel Prime has a lot of preconceptions about organics, and none of them are true. He thinks they're riddled with disease. I mean, one of the first acts he does when he brings the Autobots that have been on Earth onto his ship is have them pretty much decontaminated. And that attitude that he has, though somewhat calmed down, never really leaves him. Because Sentinel Prime is the joke character of Transformers Animated, he gets himself into a lot of scrapes, thinking he's a big hard man, which he then really tends to make a mess of. And Sentinel Prime does make a mess of quite a few things. I mean, he refuses to believe Optimus Prime that the Decepticons are around until Optimus Prime really shows him up, when, of course, the Decepticons show up. And then first Starscream shows up, and the Sentinel's like, so it's one Decepticon. Then the others show up. And he gets a major point of contention when Ultra Magnus turns around to Optimus and says, to Sentinel, says, there's a few things you can learn of Optimus. Sentinel does not like that. Sentinel's other major goofs would include getting taken over by Headmaster, even though because of Prime, Optimus, he still gets the credit for it. And, well, he gets named head of Cybertron after Ultra Magnus is killed. And we're all like, and every fan's watching thinking, oh boy, this is going to be good. Subtlety is not one of Sentinel Prime's strong points. He very much likes the terminology of go in and beat the crap out of it. That's what Sentinel Prime does. He's about as subtle as a brick. He's about as subtle as I am, actually. So it doesn't really help his case either. But the fact that he's constantly being humiliated by the other Autobots. I mean, he is part of the training camp. He's the one that trains Bumblebee and Bulkhead, and incidentally later drums them out of the Elite Guard as their drill sergeant, where him and Bumblebee clash heads continuously with a little help from Bulkhead. Sentinel Prime is tasked with the capturing of Wasp. After Wasp escapes, despite the fact that they soon learn that Wasp was in fact never the traitor and it was always Longarm, who is another Prime. This of course brings him in with the two Autobot jet things, which are quite cool apart from their voices, which just remind me of Parrot and Dox from Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Kingdom. Wouldn't be surprised if they actually had the same voice actor, because I'm sure in Transformers RID, half the voice cast was in Yu-Gi-Oh! But there we go. Anyway, the episode where Sentinel Prime re-meets Black Arachnia, despite having a very comedic episode of Sentinel being flown across the sky by a magnet stuck to his head and then getting dragged through the sand, despite being very comedy, that moment really does become overshadowed by what happens later when Sentinel meets Black Arachnia. And Sentinel does not respond well to meeting Black Arachnia, because she, of course, is a techno-organic. And it turns out that despite all his jokes, and despite being the joke, and despite being the lame character, Sentinel Prime really does have some deep-rooted issues. I mean, I wouldn't say, comparing him to Hitler might be a bit extreme, but while Sentinel does not believe in a master race, he really does believe that his race is superior to everybody else. And namely, he is superior to everybody else. So when he meets Black Arachnia, who was originally Elite 1, Sentinel reacts very badly and attacks her. Now, this shows quite a deep character flaw in Sentinel Prime, at least in my mind. In that he shows a term of racism that would make any hardened racist proud. He doesn't like humans because they're organic, and he really dislikes Black Arachnia, and I imagine he would dislike Sari if he found out about her as well. He has a real problem with bastardizations of mechanical and organic. And whether it's a deliberate thing that the writers of Animated have put in to make Sentinel Prime not a dislikable character, because of course he's the jerk, so he is the dislikable character, but to actually make him a real character that can be disliked, whether it's deliberate, I wouldn't think so, because I imagine a lot of the younger fans would actually miss that subtlety, because they would because it's still done being Sentinel Prime, so you're expecting it to go wrong for him. Now, apparently Sentinel Prime does have some... He does apparently care about his friends, but he has a very, very hard time showing it. Sentinel Prime's weapon of choice, because there are no guns in Animated, unless they're an arm cannon, or they flip out. I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but there is not one character in Transformers Animated that has a gun, a handheld gun. They're all attached to arms, or they flip out like the way Bumblebee's does, but they've all got melee weapons, sword and shield, or an axe in Prime's case, but there's no guns. Anyway, I was going to say about the weapons. Now, it would appear, though I can't recollect anything from Long Arm Prime's stint as Long Arm Prime having one, but it would appear that all the Primes are given weapons. Prime's is an axe, and Sentinel's, despite the fact that I've just dropped it and it's gone right on the floor, back in a second. Back! Took me a couple of minutes to actually find that then. Anyway, sword and shield. And and I think I made a mention of it in the Optimus Prime video, that all the Elite Guard have different weapons. You know, Jazz has got his nunchucks, Prime's got his axe, Magnus has the hammer, Sentinel Prime has the sword and shield. I forget what Elita 1 had. I know she had something, but I can't quite remember what it was. Anyway. Right then. Now then, some interesting trivia about Sentinel Prime. For one thing, he is, of course, I've forgotten his bloody name now. Tanzan Coleman, that's it. Right. Some people are probably thinking, what? Right. Sentinel Prime's chin boy look. I mean, he, of course, he has that really over-pronounced chin. And the things he says and the things he come out with are a homage to the Tick, which was a 90s cartoon character. Very funny cartoon. Absolutely brilliant cartoon. And he's voiced by Tanzan Coleman, who also provided the voice for the Tick. And it later became aware that when they designed Sentinel Prime's character around Tanzan Coleman. So he is a very Tick-esque character in some regards. I mean, some of the things that he comes out like, "Enna Johnny Goodness," is a very Tick kind of thing to say. Of course, that did make a lot of fans go, what? But yes, Sentinel Prime is the first Sentinel Prime to A, have an Earth mode, B, be on Earth, and C, not die at the start of the Great War. Because of course in the G1, the start of the war, in the comic continuity, in the newer comic continuity, is when Megatron kills Sentinel. So Sentinel Prime, for the first time, gets a major role, and they turn him into Chin Boy. Sentinel Prime, another piece of trivia that I came across is Sentinel Prime's shield tossing style. He's very reminiscent of Captain America. The way he both uses it for defence and offence, whether that's deliberate, because I can't imagine it's a direct homage to Captain America, because Captain America did none of the personality traits of Sentinel Prime. Of course not, he was an all-American hero. Didn't have any character flaws, Captain America didn't. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Okay. Back, my mind went totally blank. That was the other thing. Sentinel Prime also has a habit of screaming like a girl. That was just a random little bit I thought in there. Right, onto the toy. The alt mode, the snowplow itself is okay. It's actually quite nice for an alt mode. There's only one major gripe I have with it. Head and chin of doom poking out the front. Of course, the sword and shield. I've done this the wrong way. Affix on the back. Okay. It has quite some nice in details. I mean, if you look on the inside of the front wheels, I mean, I'm not going to be able to show you on this, but you can actually see the suspension springs. Okay, transforming it. Gotta remember how to do this one, because if I recall, this one's a bit of a fiddly pain in the backside. Snap the snowplow out at the front. Just to make sure I'm doing it. Oh, there we go. Ooh, keep my elbows on the table. Yes, I know it's very bad manners, but I can keep this in shot. Pull the back part down, snap the legs out, pull them out, and then that's it. This is why it's fiddly, because you've got to twist it. Arms up, and snap into place. Other arm the same. Once I can snap it out, there we go. Lock it into place at the top. Well, I think that should do it. Yes, indeed it does. Apart from, of course, bringing down and locking into place slotting into place. There we go. The sides of the snowplow. Right, there we go. Sentinel Prime Robot Mode. With, of course, sword in one hand and shield in the other. The shield, of course, should be pointed at the front, despite the fact that technically that's incorrect if you're going to use a shield, because you put it across the hand, across the back, rather than at the front. But there we go. Because he used it as both an offensive and a defensive weapon, he's allowed to do that. Right, I think I've transformed him properly. Well, he looks like a robot. Okay, now a nice toy, good articulation in it. You know, the way that you can move the arms, though the snowplow does have a tendency to get in the way. Quite bendy. You know, he's very bendy. Sentinel Prime is I mean, you can stick him up in suitably heroic poses. Like, dun, 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 here I come to save the day! That's a very tick thing to say, actually. Anyway, so he can be set up in suitable poses. He has the Sentinel Prime sneer on his face, though he does look like he's about to crap one out. A deluxe toy, and you know, a fairly decent toy. You know, there's nothing in Sentinel Prime to write home about. Not like there is in, say, Leader Class Megatron. One of the things about Sentinel, that's another point I was going to bring up, is that the Headmaster unit, of course, won't fit on him, because the Headmaster unit that comes with the Leader Class Bulkhead is designed for Leader Class figures only. So despite the fact that Sentinel Prime was taken over by Headmaster, you can't fit the Headmaster unit on him. Deluxe Class, second wave, I believe. I'm not sure if it was the second wave or the first wave. No, it would have been the second wave. So still quite cheap. A nice toy. It is a nice toy. You know, it completes a lot of the Ultimate. It completes a lot of the Trinity duo, because I've got Jazz and I've got Ultra Magnus. So, and there's nothing that's outstanding on it, apart from one of the spots you could say is it's got, apart from the little bit at the back, it's got very little kibble. You know, it's certainly not like a back form, but then most of the animated range aren't things like back formers and lots of bits sticking out here or there. As in, my main point of contention with it is the fact that the head sticks out underneath. But yes, nothing more to say on that. You can still pick this guy up in toy shops everywhere, pretty much. Well, any large toy shops. I mean, Toys R Us should have it, the Entertainer should have it. If not, good old reliable eBay will have it. But for now, this is Silverbolt with Sentinel Prime signing off, saying au revoir, adios, auf Wiedersehen.